your reflection, you have
Everybody, thanks for coming. Can we bring up that second slide? And that says that's the original cover. The book is called True Stories, and it's 50 true stories. Some of them are 2 and 3 pieces that run together. But most of them are kind of standalone stories that should be able, on their own, to be read. You don't have to read the book from beginning to end like a novel. You can skip through it and see where something catches your eyes. Oh, this looks interesting, and then slowly read the whole thing and get this picture of my life. Because really, the book isn't so much a autobiography as it is a social, political, spiritual book of philosophy. And what I know is if you say, I've got a book of essays of social, political, and spiritual philosophy, everybody starts to yawn. Everybody reaches for the remote for the next channel. But if you say, and then there was the time, people will stay glued to the storyline. So disguised, masquerading inside these stories, which hopefully are amusing and fun and funny and interesting, is what I think of as a very serious social political philosophy, spiritual philosophy, about where we are in this world and where we could be. And in fact, because I'm an optimist, I think it's actually where we actually are going, because I think we are headed toward a better world, and I think there is a great non-governmental, non-corporate, non-bank run, non-religious run movement around the world that hardly recognizes itself as a movement, but that people have affinities, and it reaches from the democracy angle of the Arab Spring to the movement for the Rohingya in Burma, to the underground movements in Iran and Iraq that are very pro-tolerant and very pro-multicultural understanding. And I think that those and the environmental movement here in the United States, and of course the women's movement, the civil rights movement, are all linked. And these links are hardly occurring to us, and nobody's really writing about them as a broad amalgam, a broad coming together. And I think it really is, and that's going to become apparent as we move further into the century. I have some prizes and surprises for everybody tonight. And so first, the first prize is the smallest, and you can take one and pass it on. These are bookmarks about the Earth. There we go. I'm taking 2. Take one, pass them on. You get the free bookmark. That's the easy prize. There are going to be bigger prizes and surprises later, so don't go away. The first thing I would like to read from the book is in some ways the most important, because the fact is I didn't do everything in this book. A lot of the time I was just a support team. A lot of the time I was just a backup. And so, most of all, I would like to acknowledge and thank all the many people who participated in the stories told here, who are not mentioned because of my lack of memory amid the turbulence of the times. These people deserve to be included in this book, and so I must lump you all together in this heartfelt appreciation. Without the many participants, friends, family, supporters, activists, contributors, and accomplices, these stories never could have come to be. So many people carried the banners, walked the trails, sowed the seeds, and baked the bread, who are not named in this accounting, and yet on the strength of their efforts, these stories were actually able to occur. To all of you, I give my deepest appreciation. And in fact, a fair number of you are seated in this audience right now. Early in the book, I talk about Spencer Holst, a great story writer who held evening soirees at different places in Lower Manhattan, and people would sit on the carpets and listened to him. I had no idea that that was John Cage listening, and that was William Burroughs listening, and that was Alan and Gregory and so many others, Philip Whalen, so many others from the artistic intelligentsia of the 1950s who were sitting there listening to Spencer. And many, many, many years later, when we did a reading at the Living Theater with Spencer and myself and Vít Jorge's compadre of Václav Havel from Czechoslovakia, when we were doing a night of stories, I said to Spencer, why don't you just speak your stories? Because you've got them memorized, you know what you're doing, you can tailor a word or two to the particular audience. And he went on about how every word was important and the phraseology, and then he said, no, that's not really it. What's really it is that what the storyteller wants is for someone to read their story aloud to somebody else. And that really stuck with me. I tell that here in the book.